Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Got a lot of new faces out here. I'm Phil Horney. I'm the new president of the society. This is my first meeting being the MC, so I want to welcome everybody. If you're new, this is like your first or second meeting, stand up so I can see who you are. All right. Couple of things before we get started with our actual demo. We've been working on becoming a 501c3 for a year? About a year. And we can now officially do business as a 501c3. So that's got a lot of positive implications for us. We can accept donations now, both financial and items. So if you want to contribute to the society, you could do so and get a tax write-off. So that's pretty awesome. One thing that the 501c3 does not cover is your membership fees. So you can't deduct those, but that's hooked up. We've also set up a page on the website, bonsai.org/donate if you'd like to make a financial donation.
We have stunning.
The society has several committees. A lot of these committees haven't been active for a few years since pre-COVID. So we're trying to reform those committees. We've got the Education Committee, which I am the chair of. So if you are interested in helping to, what's that, Steve?
I said that's kind of the default for every new chair.
I guess. So if you are interested in helping with education, we are trying to create some and revive some programs like our continuing education program, which is where we take new members and kind of nurture them and help them to progress in Bonsai. We also have the advanced study group, which we're trying to rekindle, where we have Bonsai professionals come in on a yearly basis, a couple of times a year, and we work with them and do some advanced things. And the study group will meet multiple times a year to talk about what they learned when the professional is here, work on the trees that they are using in their advanced study, and progressing there. We also want to try and create some intermediate classes. I know some of you folks took a beginner's class. We want to be able to provide an intermediate class, but of course we need help creating these programs and generating the materials and information that these programs will provide. So if you're interested in the education with our members, please get in touch with me, president@cincinnati.org. I would love to have you on our team. The second is the Hospitality Committee. Where's Bob? Bob just decided that he was going to volunteer as the chair of the Hospitality Committee. And the Hospitality Committee does things like provides the snacks and beverages for the meetings, for workshops. They do the setup in the room and tear down after the meetings. And also when we have folks that are coming in to present or as an instructor, they will do things like pick them up from the airport, drop them off at their Airbnb or wherever you're staying, and basically just make them feel welcome and make sure that they get where they need to go. So if you'd like to be a part of that, please get in touch with Bob. You can also email me for that. I'll give you his information. We have a new member survey. We want to know what you think and what you want to get out of your society. So take 5 minutes and do the survey and let us know what you think. Signage. I'll leave that up for a sec if you want to get the QR code. June Saturday meetup. We do not have a workshop this coming Saturday, but we are doing a meetup at the Crone at the Butterfly Show. This is kind of our alternate first Saturday where you bring a tree and whatever you need to work on the tree, whatever tools and wires, And you just sit at the crown with other folks that are out there working on their trees, ask them questions, talk to folks that are coming through the crown looking at the bonsai display in the crown. It's a lot of fun. We, as a society, are there for roughly 30 to 35 days out of the year, and we get about $20,000 in benefits from the crone for our volunteer services. So if you haven't volunteered, it's really great for the society because we get a lot in return from the crone that helps us do the things we want to do. A couple things like the Christmas party we have at the crone, we don't pay anything for that, and we get to use the space. We also need some folks to help out. I need somebody to be a videographer. So if you have any experience running the camera and a couple of mics, we're thinking about bringing our meetings online in like a Zoom or a Teams meeting so folks can attend remotely if they can't make it to the meeting. Typically, I do the recordings, but I've got a lot going on. So if this is something that you're interested in doing, please let me know. The club is considering purchasing their equipment so that you don't have to own any equipment. You would just come in, set it up, and do the recordings and do the Zoom. We also need a newsletter editor because currently the president does that as well. So we need somebody that can work in Microsoft Publisher or in Adobe InDesign or even Word, whatever you're comfortable with, to create the newsletters each month and then wrangle all of the things that go into the newsletter every month. Time commitment on that's pretty minimal. I would say maybe 5 to 10 hours a month max to get the newsletter out. So now we're going to talk about, yes, Joanne.
Are you going to say something about the butterfly show? I know you talked about the offering the first Saturday, but we've got another month for the butterfly show.
I can, sure. The butterfly show is going on now, and that's one of the 35 dates that we talked about. If you have free time on Wednesdays or Saturdays through August
1 month then.
From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., it's basically just like what we do first Saturday. So you can bring a tree to work on, sit and talk to anybody else that's there working on their trees, and just talk about the society and the bonsai that are at the crone with the folks that are visiting the butterfly show. It's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of interesting people that don't really know anything about bonsai but think it's the coolest thing in the world because it kind of is, right?
But it's amazing the number of people that are very interested in it.
Yeah.
And they sign up online so we know we can set up the number of tables.
Yes. So if you go online, if you log into the website, up at the top menu, there's a volunteer drop down, and you can click on that. And we'll show you what volunteer opportunities there are available for you to. So we'd really appreciate it if you can spare the time to do that.
Change.
I feel like I missed a slide, but anyway, we're going to talk about unusual species, and Stephanie Aker from Reminiscent Herb Farm has brought a lot of really interesting plants that she's going to tell us all about and how to grow them as bonsai. You can do pretty much any woody plant as bonsai, and so these are some really interesting things that you can use with that.
Gary?
Stephanie.
How are you?
Okay.
I brought a number of different things that you can create a bonsai with. It's not the same as what we're used to, but all of these will produce a wood. And as long as they'll produce a wood, you're able to bonsai. You're able to winter over. The lantanas, these are great. We have some lantana trees that are almost 30 years old. You can keep these guys in and out of the house. We like to let them go cold for the winter, but that doesn't mean to freeze. We like as many of them as possible to have a dormant period, a chill down period. I have brought a number of different things to discuss, and one of the little ones, or a number of them, are the fuchsia. That's the little tree on the slide. Fuchsias are easy to work with. If you ever kept a fuchsia hanging basket and were successful at keeping a fuchsia hanging basket, you can keep a fuchsia bonsai. They will grow this nice wood. They do very well for you. They're easy and they do reduce down. Just like with any other plant material, it's a matter of reducing the nodes down and keeping it in some type of a substrate that's going to allow for the roots to continue to grow, but not to rot. So we need to, very first thing that you want to do when you go to try to find your favorite non-traditional bonsai, whether it's the fuchsia or a little Mona lavender type, this only was found on one north side of a mountain in Africa. Professor Ernest found this in the 50s, and it creates this wonderful little bulbous base, and it'll get larger and larger. I'm going to send these around so people can take a look at them. You do want to clean them off so that you're able to see your nice little bulbous base. And he found this, and so it is Placanthus ernesti is the name of this one, and it only grows in one place over the entire world, which is kind of neat. And you do the same thing. You're going to reduce it down. You're going to keep reducing it. I'm going to send that one that way until you start to achieve those very short nodes, and it does bloom. It never stops blooming. It's so nice to have inside the house when it's blooming.
But
See,
some interest.
I'm going to send this one on this side.
Succulent, does that have a food storage aspect to it? Is that why that grows?
That's why, yes.
And so does it have to go through a dormancy?
They're always a little bit, now they go through a quiet period. They don't drop all of their leaves as in a traditional dormant period, which is what the coleus will go through or the lantana will go through. That goes through a quiet period during the lower light days in the winter,
Right.
And then it'll start to relief, and you want to defoliate when it starts to relief.
Bringing them and keep plant lights on your plants moving in the hospital.
No, plant lights are the worst things in the world. If you have them, throw them away. LED daylights, anything that is 4.5 Kelvin or above, and now they have 7 and 7.5 Kelvin. The LED lights work so much better. You don't have to sit the light right over top of the plant material. You can incorporate them into your home. You have to remember with LED daylight lights, it's a full spectrum light. It's good for you, it's good for children, it's good for your pets, and it's really great for the plants. It really is a good light to think about. We changed our bulbs out probably about 3-4 years ago, and you do notice a difference. It's brighter and makes you feel a little bit better. This is a coleus. I was just talking to Bob about his green coleus. I took a nosedive. But these do create wood. They will relief back out. They will go through a dormant period, and the coleus work very well. I'm going to pass that on this side.
What do you do so that it didn't order for you? Can you bring them inside?
All of these that I have with me, you do need to bring inside. The non-traditional tend to lean more towards the zone 7, 8 plant materials into your tropicals. And most of the time, we grow the lantana as an annual, but it is actually a woody plant that does very, very well. The little Mexican heather, the cufia, this is a little woody plant. It grows very well. Again, it's a zone 7-8 plant, so it can have a downtime. It drops its leaves, gets new foliage. These are all kind of prerequisites for our bonsai material. We needed to go through seasons, even though we're not letting them freeze. They need to do that to be able to build up a nice, good woody trunk. Otherwise, they would melt, in your pots. I'm going to send 2 little fuchsias around. This one is a little bit larger, 2 different types. These are both minis. This one has some flowers on, so I'll send that on this side. And you can see this wonderful bark that's already creating, and that's about 2 years old. That little guy's about 1 year old.
What's a little chin? Oh, it's you.
Yeah.
Yes, how you?
What kind of stay is that?
This is a Chinese pepper tree, and it actually grows peppers. You do need to prune it back to keep your nodes tight at all times. Unfortunately, I don't think we have any more teeny tiny guys at the nursery, but they're coming along. They do very well. You can wire these. Some of them are directional pruning. Some of them you can wire. The geraniums tend to be directional pruning. The Mona lavenders tend to be directional pruning. This one you can wire. The fuchsias can be wired. Lantanas can be wired. This is another type of Mona lavender, and it will bloom in the house for you for the winter. And I can't say enough wonderful things about this plant. We got our first one ages ago, and it was in the middle of the winter. One of our customers, a very good old friend, brought us this big hanging basket of them, and we stuck it up against the plastic. It burned and froze on one side. It was happier than it had ever been because it got a chance to go through a little bit of cold period. But that's another type of Mona lavender, and you can wire those as well.
This is the name that you
Please?
manifest.
This is Mona lavender. There's a number of different types, and this is the one we're a little more used to than, say, the one with the little bulbs.
Look at that in boom.
And it's Texas. Yeah.
How to see?
Cool. So you talk back there, they sort of just some it's up here. It's like, let me tease.
What? Which one? Which the cricket?
There are a number of begonias that you can use and work the same way. This is a little butterfly begonia, and do you see the little bulb it creates? And all you have to do is take these branches off right at the base. You want to remove it.
Say that.
It's like any other begonia. You let it get a little dry. Then tomorrow I'll set these into some soil, and you start a whole new plant. You can see the stems are beginning to swell. They'll start up here on the top of the stems. This is a fun little begonia. If you let this get very dry, it's just like a dwarf jade. If you let it get really dry, it gets kind of limp, and you can wire it with some aluminum wire without a problem. Then you can shape it however you like. You do need to get these, take them out of the nursery pots, and you do need to get them into some type of a bonsai soil. It seems that, unfortunately, they don't go directly into bonsai soil and thrive. But if you take them out of their pot, put them into a bonsai pot of one type or another, you can have a cut down pot. You can use something already, some clay of any type. You're okay. You put your plant material into it along with a good bonsai soil. What's a good bonsai soil? A nice, even blend of Akadama, pumice, lava with a little bit of pine fines. We have still put pine fines and in our all-purpose. Something that would help to retain moisture, of course, is a little more akadama as opposed to pine fines, because pine fines tend to cause your root system to rot. So you can use an OKI blend or an akadama blend. This is a great little soil. It has numbers of different types of akadama in it. It's been fired at different temperatures so that it will retain moisture but not get soggy on you, and actually lasts a little bit longer than, say, a traditional just akadama. And I will pass that around just so you can take a look at it.
Does everybody know what akadama is?
Akadama is a clay that has been fired, and it comes from a particular region in Japan. Lots of people try to do it outside, but they really do know what they're doing. So, and that particular akadama blend is very nice. Mark Fields introduced it to us a couple of years ago, and we've been selling that particular blend for a while. I've found that you can use that straight without a problem, but I would use a mix of the two to get it used to it. But once you do a traditional bonsai pot up, get rid of all of that soil that's around the plant material. Once you get it into the bonsai pot, an easy way to get the root system growing, to slow it down from losing moisture too quickly, is to put it in some kind of a pot. And this is a barky mix. It's called potting bark. Okay? And it just makes it easy to set the plant material in the pot down in it. And then once you get it into your bonsai soil, the way this is already in soil, you just set this down into your bark. And so now it can grow roots down into the bark. It gets used to growing that way, and it gets used to growing in your akadama. You will pull it up and out you can do it once a year. You can do it every 6 months. You can cut the roots off, add new bark, and put it back in, and you'll be amazed at how quickly it does beef up the plant material.
And flow check.
And by way of defense.
Going to send the lantana over here. I want everybody to take a look at the nice wood that lantana creates, and it creates it very quickly. Dick, how old is this?
Kind of moves on.
About 5 years old.
Whoops.
He's been playing with that one for a while.
Last watch.
Sure.
This thing is kind of repotting. It's inhibiting this.
Right. You don't have to you repot your tropicals anywhere from around every 3 to 5 years. When you're leaving it set and growing on, if it's growing on in the bark, it's going to root down there very quickly. It's healthy for the plant material, but your bonsai soil is not decomposing. It's running roots into your potting bark, and that works very well, and it does help it to grow and put on size. I have been amazed. We have done that with trident maples, and the trident maples just absolutely look ages old just by being in that double pot system. And it works very well.
So walk up the chip to my grower and catch a wing with that maple literally have 6 and 7 pot done.
One on top of the other. Pot inside of a pot is
Like a tower. Now they will choke you by and the little forge and off to the west. Just to give that step sweat kind is to not to make the ferment goes kind that work well. It's where you just take hot, don't serve the root system. That's how much that you not putting out body. Anything outside of the pot on that we cut it and fill it out in the pot.
we're taking plant material that is used to being created for annual plantings, short-term plantings, and we're trying to create some longevity. And we want to do that at first before we start putting it into trays. You really need to give it some time before you quickly move it into your bonsai pot. You need to do some growing on time. You need to introduce it to the bonsai substrate, the bonsai soil, because if you don't, the plant material is not going to transition well for you at all. You have to remember that a lot of these have been hybridized and just propagated for annual plantings. And so we have to kind of work it through so that we slow it down, get some nutrients in there, and keep the plant material going so that we get some age to it. And it's easy to do, but you cannot rush it. You know, you've got to give everything some time. I did bring a couple fertilizers and wanted to talk to you guys about it, a few fertilizers to use.
When you're making that transition into the bonsai soil, is there any time of year?
Let's see. You should do it in the summertime. All of these are annual plantings or are considered annual type of plants. They're not annuals, they're tropicals. So they need to be transplanted only in the summertime. You want it to be warm. You don't want to transplant it and bring it in the house. You want to transplant it, you want to put it outside where it's warm. It needs the heat. Doing it in May is a little too early. We want to get into June, make sure our temperatures are staying nice and consistently in the 80s. You know, we want it nice and warm for at least 6 weeks, if not the whole entire summer. Plant material, this particular type of plant material needs the heat and it needs the sunlight. It traditionally grows in a very sunny, very warm location. So that's when we want to do our transplanting with these. Please?
Some of those red plants that we passed around, when I forget the name, coleus or...
The coleus, yeah.
Yeah, big leaves, right? But those really tiny ones?
These have really tiny ones, and they're getting there. And some of them are starting to dwarf, and that's exactly what they'll do. You can defoliate them to get the leaves to grow a little bit smaller.
Is that what you did on those, or did they just...
That's what I did on this guy. These guys have started out small. The ones in the back, those are a more traditional coleus, and those are the sun coleus. Sun coleus are not the seed coleus. Sun coleus are a woody coleus that live year after year after year, and they do have nice big leaves. And all of those are well on their way to reducing down. They're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And they'll reduce down to itty bitty, but it takes a little time. This particular one, this is about 2 to 3 years in this pot. And these leaves, when you first see them, they're huge. It's in the whole line of the concoleus. The concoleus have very, very big leaves, but it's a woody plant that has an indeterminate life. And so that's the type of plant material we want to bonsai. We don't want to do the seed coleus. We can't do, unfortunately, the impatiens, the little seed impatiens, nor the New Guinea impatiens. They just don't have that longevity. They really are truly a seeded plant. Anything that is propagated by cuttings, you have a very good chance of overwintering those, keeping them, growing them on, reducing them down. You do need to use a fertilizer. This plant material is used to fertilizer. There's a couple different types of things that you can use. I was talking to someone about the fish emulsion. Here's the biggest problem with using the fish emulsion in the summertime, is that it does create mold and mildew. And on these guys in the pots, you already have them under a ton of stress, and it doesn't work very well. In the very, very beginning, when we first got into business, we used a fish emulsion and kelp blend. and we were constantly fighting gray mold. And what we finally figured out is that the fish emulsion was causing some of those problems if they were applied wrong or applied the wrong time of the day. It's a great fertilizer, but you have to be very careful about how you use it. I really do like the old Peter's Professional Plant Food. Peter's Professional Plant Food was created by Jack Peters, and what he did was he went to the stockyards and he picked up their garbage bladders. And that is a urea-based fertilizer. It's still a urea-based fertilizer today, but it's under the name of Jack's Classic. There was a whole evolution of that particular company, and now it's called Jack's Classic. And Jack's Classic professional blend is going to be 20-20-20. And this is the blue water that every nursery across the country uses. And we use it for a reason, because we can turn this into a tropical fertilizer. We can turn it into an orchid fertilizer just by adjusting the increments. And it works very well. For tropicals, it's tropicals like 30-30-30 on a relatively frequent basis. You can do that once a month. This is 20-20-20, so it's not quite half strength, but it is a lower portion, so you can use it more often with any kind of plant material. It gives a good, quick shot of fertilizer, but you have to remember once it's dry, it's gone. It's a urea-based fertilizer, so it's not going to sit and build up in the soil. It still could create salts if you use it too often, but this is a very benign fertilizer to use, and it works very, very well. That's why we have been using it for 50 plus years in our industry, because it does the job and it does it well. The solid fertilizer that we use, that we put in the little pods, it's the Jack's Classic Coat. It's a new product that they came up with, but Classic Coat is nice. It's consistent. You use a much smaller amount than you have in the past with, say, other solid fertilizers, and it has a very consistent membrane, so it doesn't fertilize dump on you and possibly kill your plant material, which is one of the biggest problems. And then we stick with an organic fertilizer that is extremely compacted. It releases slowly. I like the BioGold. It works. And that's what we put in our large pods. And then when you water right over top of it. You can put it directly on the soil, and it really does last a good 6 to 8 months. And, it's a one-time application, and it's a good organic fertilizer. I haven't seen much of any type of fungus growing on it at all, and that gives you a nice balance between the two fertilizers. This kind of plant material is going to need it. Any plant material needs it. But when you're transitioning from your basic garden plants that you go and pick up at a garden center and move it into plant material, you're going to need fertilizers. And I want you to always keep that in mind. They will all produce a wood, even though it will take a little time. Even your geraniums will. This particular geranium was created just for the Vancouver Bonsai Show in the 80s. That's why it's called the Vancouver Centennial. But any geranium, and I meant to grab a couple of others, will produce that wood. And you can, with directional pruning, create a nice bonsai. It is a look. But I have eucalyptus. We have, which is a great fun plant. We have the lemon eucalyptus. So you can do just about anything, but you need to make sure it's plant material that's going to create a wood. That's what's important. Anybody, any questions?
Do you guys plant roses?
You can. Again, you want to use, you're going to need to use a fungicide. A good fungicide is going to be a copper fungicide. It works. And, we use Mancozeb and we have used a ton of other things. And at the end of the day, we've gone back to using copper because copper works. You can't get a copper oleate anymore. They just don't have it available on the market. But this is a nice copper fungicide that's well balanced and it works. You have to use it with roses. They're just...
So what was the name of it?
Please?
What's the name of the bottle?
I'm sorry. It's Captain Jack's. No relation to Jack's fertilizer. But it's a Bionide product. And actually, this copper fungicide's been out for years and years. It works. It is an oxygenated copper.
Is that like Clary's?
Yes.
The ocean. Yeah, this one's.
Yeah, it'll be blue. When you mix it up, you spray it on. It's blue, just all the same. Yeah. This seems to work a little bit better than some of the other coppers that are out there. It works.
Yeah, that's
Definitely. So I think I may be bringing my colas in too soon. And say you want it to get
cold.
its leaf.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how so do you let it get?
You don't really want it to freeze. It's with the coleus, it's perfectly fine to let it flirt in the 40s, the low 40s. You don't want a frost to get on because you're going to lose it if you get a frost on it. But the coleus will be fine. And sometimes that's November. Sometimes it's late October. If we get one of those errant freezes that we can get in September or something stupid happens, you bring it in for a night, put it right back out. You want it to slowly transition. You want them to create the sugars to go to sleep. That's important.
So then it'll drop its leaves. You bring it in.
it generally just fully
You deposit.
Yeah. Yeah. If they haven't,
Cold or when it get
I like
let it get cold.
I'm 40 well, I'll bring them in and then I'll pull all the lean ones of them and then leave them sit there and barely water them and I'll
What's your like situation and then into
speak
what are they like in a funny with them?
pretty much. Yeah, we have a great southern and every yes, they're pretty much on, but they get pushed to the back. So they're not actually
Or they go underneath,
stay water free.
Yeah.
or they go underneath the benches. But you can winter them over in the garage, just like you would winter over geraniums or any other tenders. Have you ever wintered geraniums over in the garage? Okay, you let them get nice and cold, but not freeze. You completely defoliate them. You put them in a brown cardboard box or a brown paper bag, and that will help to pull the moisture out, maintain some humidity in there. You water them about every 3 or 4 weeks. Well, when we're doing that with these coleus, if you have that warm part of the garage, the wall that doesn't freeze, you can leave those out there. It's usually that wall that the garage and the house share right by the door. That can be your plant stand area. You can let it get cold. In the greenhouse that Dick was talking about, we let that get down to the upper 30s and 40s. So
stay dormant all winter. They won't.
They'll stay dormant. As long as they stay cool, they'll stay dormant, but they will start probably sometime about the end of February. It'll start to leaf out, and then you need to get it to a warm spot.
It depends on they like both when they start around.
Yeah. And that's why the LED lights in the house are great, because it will intensify that light. And the lower light that they have, the slower that they are going to break dormancy. So if it's in a dark garage, it works very well. It keeps things going. The one thing that I've noticed about the coleus is that if you try to water them too much when they first wake up, They will rot on you. They have got to have enough, all of these have to have enough foliage to draw that moisture up inside of them. And you notice that first you start watering them every 3 weeks, and then it's every other week. And you're probably right at about every other week for a while until it really starts to put on that foliage. And then you can go ahead and fertilize, water frequently, that type of thing. But you do need to do a winter and put it to sleep for the winter.
Still have transition the coleus that you have, just like in the normal planter to begin that.
You wanna rinse all your soil off. It's all your soil off and just do a complete transplant. And you want to do that in the summer when it's warm. You rinse all your soil off, and then you replace your soil with some type of an all-purpose bonsai soil. And then once you have it in bonsai soil, then you can slowly start to reduce it down. But it does, particularly in that better soil. Problem with it being in the ground is that you pick up dormant fungi, okay? And that's one of the reasons why you can't dig a plant up and bring it in the house, because it wakes everything up. If it's in a big pot, it's still in a very barky or peaty mix, and it's a little tough to keep them going in that kind of a soil mix. If you move it to bonsai soil right away, as soon as you find out just which plant you want to do this with, you're always better off. And you rinse it all off. You can save like a small little handful that might have some, just not a handful, just a couple pinches of the soil that used to be in there. You do that so that if there's any mycorrhiza in there, any beneficial anything, you're giving it back what it's been used to, but only in small increments. You don't want to put a whole big handful or tablespoonful if you're only creating a little teeny tiny bonsai pot. Just enough. And you do, you're going to transition it into a shady spot. You always, as soon as you get your plant material and you've transitioned it into new plant material, into new soil, you want to put it in a shady spot for about 2 to 3 weeks. It needs to be outside in the heat where it's warm. Morning sun is fine until about, say, 11 o'clock, and then it should be in shade thereafter. Once you're there and it's been 3+ weeks, you can slowly move it into a little more sunlight. You've reduced down the soil, you've reduced your root system, so you don't want it in the heat of the day, in the late afternoon sun, morning sun, early afternoon. You're a little bit better off. It'll help to transition everything slowly that first year anyway.
Okay.
We tend to use more of a filtered location for most of our plant material that is in bonsai soil. It's all in a filtered light kind of situation. Morning sun, afternoon shade. Okay. The junipers and the pines, those guys are in as much sun as you can get them, but everything else has a lot of protection, even the ficus.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you talk a little bit more about the fertilizer? What do you think about water-soluble fertilizers? And then talking about the salts and how quickly does the salts build up?
Water-soluble fertilizers are great. And the old Peter's Professional Plant Food, or now they call it Jack's Classic, is a water-soluble fertilizer. But this is not a pet. There are no petrochemicals in here. There are no salts that are bound to the petrochemicals. This is a urea-based fertilizer. It's very high in copper. That's why it's blue all the time. And it does not hold on to the salts the same way that, say, an oil-based water-soluble fertilizer. Miracle Grow, Rapid Grow, Schultz, those are all different oil-based or petrochemical base. It's not going to cause any burning or anything like that. It's just the salts bind to them. Whereas in this particular one, it doesn't. But, with our water here, we can get water spots by just watering. So, you have to be very careful, and you don't want to overdo it with the liquid fertilizer, but once a week is perfectly fine. There were a number of nurseries in the area that used to only pump the blue water into all of their hoses. And that was a little heavy fertilizing. I don't know that that's absolutely necessary, and that's where you would probably find this type of a product that would build up salts. But this one will not do that. So if you use it properly.
If you use one that does build up salts, how quickly does it build up that you would have to respot?
Well, if you're fertilizing once a week with it, like say Miracle Grow, it'll build up almost immediately. That's a once a month fertilizer actually. And what, you've reduced down the root system. You have this nice big top. You need a little more food in there than you would have if it was growing in the ground or in a big pot. So,
Right. What about cutting back the percentage on the fertilizer instead of like a tablespoon per gallon, whatever they say, go to a quarter of that, and there's a weaker,
it's a weaker concentration. But a weaker concentration more often is not necessarily better.
Explain it.
Because with the weaker concentration, your phosphate and your potassium get out of whack. And especially if it's say 17, 13, 12, if you cut that by 4 or you quarter it, which is what you would need to do to keep the salts from forming, it's probably get that out of just lake water or fish tank water. You could use some.
Well, fish tank water works really well.
Yeah. It works very well. There's poop in there. But
the alternative is, to flush out
the alternative is to flush it out.
Yeah.
And the problem with flushing it out is you're also losing a lot of nutrients that are, necessary. And if you're flushing it out to nothing and then starting all over again.
Well, I think that with the woody bonsai, they appreciate a good, flushing out, if you will, a good rain, and that pulls the oxygen through for the roots as well. And so,
well, it is, but that's to flush out salts in your soil. You're not just giving it one good rain. You're going to have to flush it out multiple times if you've got a real salt problem in your soil. You'll need to flush like crazy or change your soil.
Because
just flushing is not gonna
even with a relatively like an Aoki photons.
Maybe. I don't mess with it. I don't even we don't use that type of fertilizer at all because we do not want that problem to arise.
this
And it's just better to stay away from it than mess with it. I mean, we have got plant material that we cannot get cleaned up. We have to defoliate it because of the salts that are either on the soil or on the leaves. You have to cut everything off. You have to restart everything. Yeah. And if it gets into, it's never good. It's never good on conifers. You just shouldn't use it on conifers.
Well, no, that would not spray fertilizer on conifers.
Trust me, people do. They don't.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like putting it in your hair.
Yeah. So, like I said, but just stay away from it, and that's the easiest way to deal with it. Yeah. But I brought plant material that I thought would be easy and to start with That is not that difficult that I know I can steer you and tell you this is definitely, these types of plants are going to create a wood. If you keep them well fertilized, they will do well for you. You will notice that they will thrive in that situation. Double potting is a way to really give your new plant material a boost. And, I think that it's always nice to have blooms in the garden. And this brings a lot of color into your bonsai. It truly does. Did somebody else have a question? No. That's about all let's see, you guys.
That sweet tropicals, I just put them in the grow lights up in the winter, and as you just said,
all right, a broad spectrum LED is much more effective than the grow lights. They're going to be brighter.
This is an LED.
Please, it's an LED. If it's an LED, that's fine.
It was good. It's stay outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's LED. I'm sorry, it's not like grow.
Yeah. Yes.
Is it?
No. As long as it's an LED plant life, it works. You want to time your light. You always want to time it because you don't want to extend the length of the day. You want to keep things dormant. And that's why a lot of people will put them in the basement or the garage, a heated garage, that type of thing, and maintain that length of day so you don't wake it up too early. Plant material has to rest, and if it doesn't rest, it is going to cause it to expire or shorten its lifespan.
But that is okay to do, I guess. I mean, I've seen it look and use to defoliate and try and keep it at certain temps.
Well, if you defoliate, you don't, and it is completely dormant, you really don't need your plant lights. I mean, they're underneath the benches, and that it's dark under there.
Okay.
And it takes a good 8 weeks for them to start to break dormancy, even though it's relatively warmer and humid in there. It takes time for them to wake back up, and they're in a good dormancy. They're recouping from the year before and starting anew.
Mm-hmm. He was too nervous, terribly soft, and that's the way you see.
Well, if it was growing outside, you have to remember that it's going to drop its leaves and it's going to set new leaves. And you want to create that same type of environment if you possibly can. There's nothing wrong with defoliating as long as you're not trying to do it at the wrong time of the year with anything deciduous. And all of these guys are deciduous. Even under the right circumstances, your eucalyptus will drop its leaves and get new leaves, and it will reduce down when it does.
So I really saw that this year.
Yeah. What is that little yellow pot?
Oh, this is a little, it creates this wonderful,
The one the yellow,
wonderful
flower. The first one.
Oh, the yellow spiked.
Oh,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah. That's a little shrimp plant.
Oh, it's a straight plant.
It's a little shrimp plant. And it'll create a wood. This is starting to at the base. And it'll create a nice little wood.
And it's right.
That looks like Renaker.
Correct. When it's spinning.
Is that relatively easy to manage?
Please?
Is that relatively easy to manage?
Very easy. Very easy. And in fact, with shrimp plants, you can grow them in the house in the wintertime as a house plant. This is an easy plant to grow, and it reduces down very easily. Now, the pink colored ones do not work as well as the yellow. The yellow works really, really well. I don't know what problem the pink ones have, but the yellow works.
So you can take them outside during the summer, like high sun hunts.
No, shade.
Shade.
This is a shade. This is a shade plant. Shrimp plant is completely shady, so you want them covered porches on that north side of your house. They can get morning sun, but, not afternoon sun.
Okay. And people planted their flower beds.
Like,
On the city.
I did a lantana over a rock. It did very well
Yeah.
until something in the greenhouse.
Knocked it over, yeah. The lantanas, too. They are just so easy.
It made it, like you said, a real woody form.
It has real gnarly and gets little knuckles. They look really sharp.
And it even bloomed and
Yeah. And lantana blooms very consistently. That'll give you lots of color. And it comes in every color of the rainbow. And that's why I brought all different colors so everyone can see. It will, there's some of them have little leaves, some of them have big leaves. Lantana's fun. You can do a lot with lantana. These are fun little trees to work with. The begonias are so much fun. I've yet to find that they're quite as tough as the little bulbous Mona lavender, but they are still pretty tough. They do very well.
I mean, the one that is it? Select. I forget. I said leave it out.
This one?
Yeah. Do you keep that one in shade or solar?
If you put it in the sun, it's going to create a sugar and purple up the leaves. It's not really a sunburn. I thought it was a sunburn, and I was corrected. It's not a sunburn. It's just, it originated on the north side of a mountain, so it was only getting, very early morning sun.
I'd have like keep it on my porch. I'd have sit there, like put it down on a bench or something.
No, I would keep it in a porch. Yeah, afternoon shade is where it seems to really like it. I mean, when it colors up and gets that purple into it, I've noticed that the branches and the stems all take a kind of a beating from that sun. Maybe a little bit of scarring will happen, so I keep them in the shade. And same thing with the fuchsias, morning sun only, no afternoon sun. No matter which kind of fuchsia that you have, it's only morning spring. But like the geraniums and
they're like,
they can all take full sun.
So when you were talking about doing the two pots, where you have your one pot with the akadama and then put it into your barf mix,
Right.
the purpose of that is to speed up the thickening of your trunk, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And so that,
Yeah, but
it's
hot.
It's in a pot in the akadama, so it's learning how to grow in the akadama, but it's still growing like it's growing more.
But no, it's untapped. Would it be in the journal?
It'll send roots out, and it's not necessarily a taproot. It's just it sets its roots out, and it's according how many holes are in your pot as to what it does.
We're cringed more dams than that.
do they poke holes in the water and how the
Well, you want to put it in some type of a pot that has holes, and you want to put your screen in so that you don't lose all your akadama. It seems that if you don't put screens in here and you do the double pot, you don't really lose your akadama like you would have had you not put a screen in and just set it on the counter or set it on your shelf wherever you're keeping it. The akadama or the bonsai soil will just wash away if you do. But because it's setting right on top of that soil, it seems to just sit there. There was one of the trident maples, or maybe it was the Korean hornbeam that I took out. For some reason, that it didn't have any screen in it, and it set roots down in it, didn't lose any of the bonsai soil into the soil in the second pot at all. So it holds things together a little bit better.
Yeah, I have a red chugsby, and it's never done really well. So
Oh, double potting.
I'm thinking,
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm going to stick it in my pot.
Yeah. I have been amazed. I was shocked, especially with these cascades that we were messing with. I mean, all of those, they beefed up. They look great. Very healthy, good leaf color. And it just gave it time to develop a root system.
For its attack.
Are you wiring your plant into your pot though?
Always. Just do a normal bonsai transplant. You're going to put a screen in there. You're going to put wire in there. You're going to wire your plant in. The only thing different, once you're done, you're setting this down into the soil. You're setting your pot. It's already in. You're setting it down in the soil, nestling it in, and really kind of packing it in. And this is a potting bark that if
Use those clay pots and don't.
yeah,
That it's you to do is that.
plastic pot. You can use a clay. Clay is fine.
If you tried that with pumice instead of the bars,
I use peat gravel one.
Yeah.
it sounds
It's someone find beggars with you serve the onions, but things over the grow upwards.
yeah. Well, I would think that you might get away from some of the problem with microbes and bugs and stuff if you use the pea gravel or a pumice or something like that instead of the bark.
I don't know that would actually, well, probably.
Insects on the bar.
No.
Straight clean bar and slip make our
Yeah, we use a composter. We use a composted bark, and that works very well. We use it on our shrubs, trees, annuals, perennials. There's the different percentages. There's a higher percentage on the shrubs and trees than it is on the small plant material. It has a little bit more. It'll have some perlite and some vermiculite in there.
Hey.
It tends to be a good, clean soil. There's not outdoor soil in it. It's a good, clean, composted soil.
So the fuchsia, I tried doing that a while ago, but it seems like I couldn't get post plant. They always seem to have white fly at the set.
Well, that's fuchsias. Yeah.
Do with them.
Well,
I gave up was extra charge.
the fuchsias tend to, there's a lot of nectar there, even though we don't see it. The hummingbirds, the butterflies, they do, and that also attracts your whitefly. It's easy to treat with a hose. You can always hose it off and clean it off. There are new types of pyrethrum that does work really well and does not burn the plant material. There's a Bayer product. It's called a citrus insect mite control, and it has that new pyrethrum in it, and it works very well. I have found that we can use that on just about everything, and it works. And we can stick it in the hose with
Just you apply it and it kills the insect. Or
yes. It's not
so it has to
systemic.
touch them. It's not.
It's not systemic. Oh no, they do actually. Bayer or Bio Advanced now has a systemic product, and they even have systemic product for both vegetables and citrus, and you can use that on these. That's perfectly fine.
Say I meant a clover works for that.
Yeah.
Said it's rice with the nest.
Yeah, it
System.
really works on honeybees.
Yeah. And if you're, we have bees, so I don't want to let bees off.
If you limit it to indoors, that's one thing, but outdoors,
Yes, once you pull it out, it's not good. No, but this new pyrethrum, there's this new generation of pyrethrum. Yes.
It's with a C.
CY.
to look at that.
And that works very well.
And they do have it in a number of their products. I like the citrus. It's a good balance.
I've used the bear tree and shrub.
That's a midichlorophyllosis. Yeah, the bear tree and shrub is going to be.
It's either pumping it into. Yeah. Do you bonsai roses?
Yes. Uh-huh. Yes.
Can we keep them outside of the leashes?
Well, you have to. They have to go completely dormant. They have to drop their leaves. You do have to use a fungicide on it. And that's why I brought, this is a really good fungicide for any plant material. And we're using it on everything from junipers and pines. Works very well for junipers and pines, but it also works on lettuces and fuchsia and anything else that's going to get a fungus. And fuchsia do get that white fungus. And this year they've been getting it badly. So got to watch out for that.
So we're going to bonsai that walks.
Please?
You bonsai walks.
Phlox is not a woody plant material. It's herbaceous. It dies all the way to the ground. Anything that's herbaceous and dies all the way down, you cannot bonsai, even if you can try to keep it going for a while. So that kind of rules out some plant material, especially our hardy perennials. Now there are some newer peonies, the Japanese tree peonies and our garden peonies have been hybridized together, and it makes a much smaller peony tree, and you can do those. One of the young guys who is a customer of ours who comes out, who actually has a landscape company, I've seen, it just looks great. I've been impressed. I didn't think so. And he bought one from us, put it in a pot, and it looks great. It's going on year 3, Justin. And it looks just absolutely wonderful. But he is wintering it over in a cold frame. It's in a cold house. It's a zone, I think they're zone 5 plants, so they need to be cold and asleep.
How do I keep the ants back off?
What, on the peonies? You have to use an insecticide. You have to remember the ants are doing kind of a...
What ants on peony?
To open your flower. Without the ants, you really... It's a little bit tougher without ants. Yeah, they will open without.
If they step I always say, I don't like ants either. Mine, let them throw it away.
But you have to treat for. You have to treat a systemic insecticide.
You cut it down. I think for overwintering most of these, do they just need to be above freezing, or is there a kind of minimum temperature you can say could get more?
Some of them, like your begonias.
Well,
Yeah.
I know, but 40? Oh, but can you? Okay, you're above. I mean, how safe? Yeah, 35 or
Yeah.
okay.
But like with the begonias, we don't. The begonias, they drop down somewhere around 55, between 40 and 55. We don't want it to go any colder than that. Though the others, like the coleus, they can go down into the upper 30s. They're asleep. The leaves are gone. They look like sticks.
Big begonias, and they go down the 30.
They go down to 30, and it's like it hurts physically, but they come through it without a problem.
I grew a sarissa, which a lot of people say are tropicals, and they go down to 15 before keeping these.
You grow sarissa?
Yeah.
I got some very old sarissa.
Do you really?
Yeah. And
I never had much luck with it.
well, with sarissa, they have to be wet all the time.
I dry, I die.
Yeah. And if they're too wet, they can't be sitting in too much water either. Can't be deep. It's gonna be shallow. Oh yeah.
Oh,
But sarissa, it is. But the sarissas have frozen, and they have. Mount Fuji is a wonderful sarissa. It's in with the Zamatlik arborvitae. It's in a big rock that I have with the planting, and it's 20 years old. He kept leaving it out. And I'd have a heart attack, and then we'd bring it in, but it would get down to 15 or 20. And it does every year. And it's just happy as a clam. It's going on 20 plus years old at this point. Oh, it does really well. For whatever reason, it likes it.
so there's well, even here, but there's us 20 like that.
Prior to the meeting, you talked about mums, a certain type of mum
Right.
as bonsai. I
And
saw some pictures online that those look pretty cool. So,
Well, a Nippon a mum, a Japanese garden mum, with a Nippon Nippofolia, is a really, really sharp. It has beautiful white flowers, and I was going to grab it, and I got in the car and left. So I didn't bring it with me. But it creates a wood. It is just absolutely gorgeous. It does need a dormant period. It needs a cold. It needs to winter in the cold. And it does much better if it winters in the cold than when it winters in one of the houses.
Perennial outdoors as well.
It'll get a good 3 foot, big white flowers, repeat blooms, makes great cascade bonsai. Absolutely beautiful cascade bonsai. And
It was obviously the other night because I have to look at it because he has a great or all that
I must have had one of those growing in my yard at some point because it was that white flowers. It was like 3 feet wide, and it would just glossy,
very glossy green leaves, not really cut leaves.
just a fuzzy,
No, it's a glossy.
and it was massive, and it just kept going. And year after year, just kept getting bigger and bigger. And I was just finding it. No, I mean,
He moved. He moved. Didn't take it with you.
I didn't figure out that it's too bad this thing.
Could you
Well, now.
be a source for Japanese chrysanthemums?
Real.
One, yes. And then the last time I tried to order them, I don't know, I think it was the old man was getting to meet your son. And the son answered when I called and said, where it's up.
Well, we have the white. And if you're ever looking, we do have the white, but I don't have any of the other colors. I just have the white.
And I think
There's a pink and a bronze. Yeah. Yeah. We have the white. And I just happened upon it. Mark Field said, Stephanie, Japanese mums, there, go and get cuttings. And he sent me somewhere. I got cuttings, and we had a boatload of them. They started all over the place. And it's such pretty foliage. It's great. It really is. You can do a lot with it. We thought it would be a very interesting bonsai, but I think we were ahead of ourselves. So we have them now for both the garden and for bonsai.
they do well.
They do very well. Yeah. And I think they're a zone 5. They're either a zone 5 or
I never count one.
or zone 4. Yeah. So there's nothing we can throw at it. And apparently loves the heat and full sun because we have ours sitting literally on the edge of a big stone wall. And they're big stones, like 8-10 foot stones that it's sitting literally right on top of. And that's where it grows. So it loves the heat. It loves the cold. You name it, whatever you throw at it, it doesn't bother it. Yeah. Well, thank you. I hope this helps. I'm good. There's anything back there anybody wants? Some of them are annuals in our nursery, so they're 6 and 7. Others are, but the coleus are 7, the lantanas are 7. Not sure what else is back there.
And try your hand at one of these as bonsai. So that's pretty exciting, pretty interesting. So thank you.
Thank you.
I got a couple of things before we break. I was contacted by
Martin.
this person, Kenny Reck. He's from the Columbus Bonsai Society, and he is selling all of his collection because he's moving to Thailand. So if you're interested, he's got pots, he's got trees. He's up in Bellefontaine, so it's a bit of a drive. But if you are looking to expanding your collection with some interesting trees, his email's there. I don't have his phone number, but he is going to send that to me. So if you're interested, shoot him an email and see what he's got left.
He's all straight.
Is he? Yeah. And then next month is our Jim Doyle month. He is a world-renowned bonsai artist, and he's doing a program on literati bonsai. So literati, you'll have to look it up. It's an interesting style. I'm not a huge fan of literati, even though I have some literati trees. He's going to be doing a demo at the meeting, and then a workshop the following Saturday. It's a bring your own tree. So if you are looking for material, I would recommend visiting our friends at Reminiscent Herb Farm. You can also get in touch with Chris Dittiger out at BC Nursery. And if you want to take a little drive to Dayton, you can go visit the Dayton Garden Center. Or what is it? The North Dayton Garden Center. Well, you can. They have,
there.
why not? They have a ton of stuff that's sitting out in the back. Yeah, go to a road trip.
We don't recommend it.
Well, I got some interesting things that would be great for literati for like $20 out there. So you got to do some looking, but
Buyer beware.
it's a fun road trip. Just don't tell them you're at Bonsai or they raise the prices.
True.
Yes. The seats for the literati workshop are $125, and you will need to bring a tree. If you want to register for that, registration opens on Sunday, this coming Sunday at 8 p.m. 10 people. Yes, what? Yes, but not everybody wants to do a literati. Are you going to sign up, Jeff? Okay. All right. So that's going to be a really interesting and great event with Jim. He's been doing, how long has he been doing bonsai? 50 years. And he's from Pennsylvania, and you can also go visit him for workshops and learning and things like that, which I'm sure he'll tell you all about when he is here. And that's it. So